Well, hello there everyone. I'm back with a follow-up video completing the survey for the Legacy of Kain sequel, reboot, remake. Well, we don't know what it's gonna be, but it sure will be something. Now I have skipped the first couple of questions since they are not relevant to this video, and let's dive right into the relevant questions. And if you like, you can fill the form out together with me. This will also serve as a sort of a light review of all the Legacy of Kain games. Question number 6. Have you played any games in the Legacy of Kain series? Well, only about 50 times, so I'd say yes. Have you ever watched someone play a Legacy of Kain game online, for example on Twitch, YouTube, etc.? Definitely yes, and there is one video I would like to recommend. Josh Strive Hayes, well, he doesn't need my recommendation, but still, I really liked the video. He did a video essay on Soul Reaver 1, which in my opinion was spectacularly well done. A really in-depth analysis of everything good and great about the Soul Reaver game. So if you didn't see it, please give it a watch. Going forward, Legacy of Kain experience. How much do you disagree with the following statement? I am a fan of the Legacy of Kain games. Yeah, kind of, sort of, very strongly agree. Which Legacy of Kain games have you played? I have played Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, but I didn't finish it. I played it on a jailbroken PlayStation Portable, right, PSP. Soul Reaver, definitely, when it came out. Soul Reaver 2, Blood Omen 2, Defiance, oh yeah. Now, when it comes to ranking these games, probably a lot of you won't agree with me, as I know Soul Reaver to be the biggest fan favorite, but my favorite was Legacy of Kain Defiance, actually. Because I'm a major fan of Kain, and I just love that both him and Raziel were playable characters and both of their stories were intertwined and important. And I love how they put it all together in the end. It was really something to see. Rate the Legacy of Kain games you have played. Legacy of Kain. Well, I'm gonna be honest and say that I do not remember well enough to rate. I seem to recall there being shape-shifting. Kain could change into different animals, which allowed him to bypass certain obstacles. And I remember the game was really outdated, which is understandable for the time. I mean, 1996. Back then, Doom was still a big thing. Soul Reaver, I really loved, and I thought it was one of the best games I've played. Story-wise especially. The camera was a bit janky and it is a problem in most of these games, but it is understandable for the period. Most cameras were fixed and you would always have to wrestle them to the ground until the camera actually showed things from an angle you actually could see everything. So I would give it a 9. The story, the voice acting, all of that stuff. Visually, of course, it is outdated, but I will disregard that. For its time, it was one of the best games. Soul Reaver 2. Soul Reaver 2, for me, felt like an evolution of Soul Reaver 1. It was obvious, well, at least I guess, that they had a bigger budget for Soul Reaver 2, because they introduced new areas and new scenes in the game, and more characters. The story also got a lot richer with the introduction of a lot of new characters. I'm not sure if Janos Aldrin showed up in Soul Reaver 1, I don't seem to recall. I know he was definitely in Soul Reaver 2, and the revelations that he guides Raziel through were quite mind-blowing. So I'm also going to give it a 9. Blood Omen 2. This is a tricky one, because Blood Omen 2 stands out from the series in regards to gameplay, storytelling, the character of Kain, and even the visual design of Kain. Kain looks a lot different in Blood Omen than in Soul Reaver and Defiance. First of all, he has 5 fingers. Second of all, he is a lot more human looking. And I didn't necessarily hate it. I actually liked his visual design in Blood Omen 2. The thing I had a problem with was the gameplay. The gameplay wasn't bad, but it wasn't hard. It didn't have any difficulty. You could just stand there and block until the end of time, or wait until the enemy attack turns red, then you know to dodge. It was nothing special. You could play the game with one hand, literally. That's how easy it was. So that would be my main problem with the game. But story-wise, once again, I found it interesting because maybe it was because I actually played Blood Omen 2 first. I mean, I played Soul Reaver before, but I didn't finish it back then. But Blood Omen 2 was the first game I played and finished, and the introduction of the Hilden race and the backstory of who the Sarafan were, and even having a look into what Kain was like as a younger vampire, his ambition, his arrogance, and his short-sightedness at the time were quite interesting to see, because in Defiance and Soul Reaver 2 especially, Kain is a lot more grown up. He has some agenda, he plays the long game, which is not something he does in Blood Omen 2. And so that evolution of the character was very interesting to me, and it was interesting to see him as a much younger and impatient vampire. So I thought that was kind of cool, and the ending of the game was, in my opinion, quite epic and quite well done. The boss fight, not so much. Again, combat was a bit lacking, but story-wise and the voice acting, as in all Legacy of Kain games, was just superb. So I'm gonna give it a 9 too. Legacy of Kain Defiance. As I have already told you, my favorite game in the series. I love it for many reasons, some of which would require some story spoilers. Like, what's the deal with the Soul Reaver, who should wield the Soul Reaver in the end, and what was Raziel's purpose in all of the story, what was Kain's purpose, and who the real enemy of the vampires is, and why. It was all very well done, in my opinion. Now, I still haven't finished replaying Defiance now, but from what I recall, just a spectacular game. The final boss fight and the discoveries made in the end were just mind-blowing. And they also left the story open-ended so that more sequels could come, which, thank God, now is actually a possibility. So I'm giving Defiance a 10 for many reasons. I know that in reality no game is actually a 10, every game is imperfect in its own way. But for the nostalgia points and the story points and the voice acting, yes, it left me breathless when I was a kid. So I'm gonna give it a 10. Legacy of Kain experience. What is the most memorable thing from the Legacy of Kain games? Okay, I'm gonna pause here and type in my answer. Okay, so voice acting, of course, being number one. Voice acting is beyond reproach in the Legacy of Kain games. Story, definitely, as we have all already established. Visual design was great. We just needed to be updated. And when it comes to combat, why did I put combat here? Well, mostly because of Soul Reaver 2 and Defiance. In Defiance, I especially liked that I could, well, it was kind of cheesing, but I did enjoy using telekinesis and impaling enemies, especially those pesky archers, and impaling them on the walls. That felt good. Combat does need improving in every game, but it was memorable in certain points. Okay, moving on. What words would you use to describe the setting for Legacy of Kain, the land of Nazgûl? You may select up to 5, so we can choose only 5 words, which is kind of difficult here. because there are many words, but witty wouldn't be one of them. I mean, or whimsical. Definitely not. I would say it was serious. It was fantastical. It it was philosophical. I mean, the whole free will versus destiny thing. That was also a nice touch. Violent, grim, sinister, tragic, brutal. It's really hard. I would say. I mean, it was dark too. Let's say it wasn't creepy. Horror is definitely not an element here, even though it's vampires. Let's say it was. Well, it did have some elements of melancholy. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was kind of dark, but it wasn't all dark. Let's say dark. What, in your opinion, are the core features of the Legacy of Kain series? You may select up to 5. Voice acting and narration. Anti-hero protagonists. Definitely. Kain was quite interesting for me, and once again, my favorite character from Legacy of Kain. Exploration puzzles, complex plot, but that's also fate versus free will is an element, but I wouldn't say it was the core feature. Unique vampire mythology, yes. Shape-shifting and forms, well, not so much in later games, mostly Blood Omen. Betrayal and revenge, story and writing, definitely. And that's 4. God, it's not enough. I need at least 8 words to choose. The Soul Reaver. Well, it was kind of the key point, but yeah, maybe I should put. But cinematics are also. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. You basically can't go wrong, but you're limited by the choices. Let's say Soul Reaver. I honestly don't know. I would also put in spells and abilities, combat, cinematics, traversal, visual presentation, betrayal and revenge. Yeah. I mean, Kain did kind of betray Raziel, but that's a whole other story. Why he did it and so on, all explained in the games. Complex plot also. Yeah, it's not easy. Who is your favorite protagonist? Kain. Raziel is right up there next to him. Who is your... I mean, to me they're kind of inseparable. They work best when they're together, as those of you who played the game know. They're at their strongest when they're together. Who is your favorite side character? Another difficult question. The Hidden Lord, the Dark Entity. I don't know if they mean the Sarafan Lord from Blood Omen or the Hidden Lord from Defiance. I'm not really sure. Kind of forgot a bit about the story. But I would say Janus Audron. He was interesting to me. Mostly because, well, he's kind of the closest to that original form of vampire. Then I would have to say Mobius, the Hidden Lord, the Elder God. Well, they're all interesting. Okay, moving on. What would be a reaction to the announcement of a new game featuring vampires? Yeah, it would be very positive. I have recently played V Rising, which has of course nothing to do with Legacy of Kain, but when I heard that it was a vampire game, yeah, I was on board already, and when I played the game, I was even more on board. Have you ever played any games featuring vampires? Okay. So the games I've played are V Rising, the Castlevania series, most of them, not all of them. I have played Blood Rain 1 and 2, Vampire the Masquerade. Now I don't know what other games I would put here. I mean, you could technically also put Skyrim because it also has the Vampire DLC, the Dawnguard DLC, but I don't really think that counts. So I'm gonna leave it at this. What, in your opinion, are the core features of an enjoyable vampire game? I would have to say the core features are story, writing, vampire mythology, definitely. The combat, spells and abilities. I mean, spells and abilities are also part of combat, but they can also be used for puzzles. So let's see what else we have. Blood feeding. Well, you can't have vampires without blood feeding, duh. So I'm really interested what you guys put in these questions. I'm kind of curious if we agree, disagree, and what you guys find most important. Yeah, let's put spells and abilities, and I would also say hunting prey. I mean, I do feel that the games would benefit if you could choose your playstyle, like in Deus Ex, for example. You could go in guns blazing and just kicking everybody's ass, or you could go stealth and go invisible, teleport, I don't know. I mean, it's a vampire game, there are so many options. You could turn into a swarm of bats, which we know Kain is capable of doing. So you could transform into a swarm of bats and strike from the air. Something that we also saw in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So yeah, I think there is kind of that element of hunting prey. And that was kind of cool. And in Blood Omen 2, you could, when you go into the mist, you could go invisible and sneak up to your enemies and just tear their hearts out, which was kind of awesome. Okay, what, if anything, has ever prevented you from enjoying a game featuring vampires? Okay, now here, well, I'm going to be... What has prevented me from enjoying a game featuring vampires? Well, first off, it would be shallow story, poor voice acting, bad gameplay mechanics, and lastly, microtransactions. Now, I'm sure some of you are probably wondering, what the hell is he on about? What microtransactions? Well, I'm not talking about microtransactions in vampire games, really. I just want to let Crystal Dynamics know that I don't want microtransactions in a single-player game. And yes, I definitely want it to be a single-player game, not any of that multiplayer PvP Nosgoth crap. Because, I mean, come on, what the hell were Square Enix thinking? So, no microtransactions. Please, no, God, no. Okay. What would be a reaction to the announcement of a new Legacy of Kain game? Yeah, it's a shame that they don't have more options going to the right. Because my reaction would be... Well, only dogs would be able to hear the screams of joy. So yeah, very, very positive. What would you prefer the next game in the Legacy of Kain series be? Least to most desirable. So what we would like to see first or most, and what we would like to see the least or we wouldn't like to see. Reboot of the series, yeah, that would be my last choice. Remaster of the original games, I enhanced the quality of one of the original games so that this would just be a visual reskin. Sequel to the original games or a remake of the original games. I rebuilt one of the original games from the ground up. And please pay attention here. So I'm going to put the remake first. So remake of one of the original games. So rebuilding the game from the ground up. I don't want anything changed when it comes to story. I want the actors to be the same as they were. Well, for the most part. Sadly, some of them have passed away. And my logic, my reasoning behind this is as goes. First, I think they should remake all of the games. So from Blood Omen to Defiance. Then I want to see sequels. So, what happens beyond Defiance? This is the way I think it should be. Maybe. I don't have to be right, but this is just a personal taste thing. Then, third place, remaster. This is something I would be far less interested in than a remake. And finally, last and least, a reboot. I don't think, well, to paraphrase Boromir, Legacy of Kain has no reboot, Legacy of Kain needs no reboot. So yes, this is a no for me, definitely not. The games are great, they just need to be updated. If the next Legacy of Kain game were a remaster or a remake, which of the original games would you like to be remastered or remade first? Another really difficult question because, well, if I could make a wish, it would be that all of them were remastered or remade, well, possibly, preferably, remade at the same time, but it's impossible, so I have a difficult choice. The game which would benefit most from being remade would definitely be Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, being the oldest and the least advanced game. But this is, again, a personal choice. In my opinion, whatever you choose, you won't go wrong, even if it's unsure. But I would first like to see Legacy of Kain Defiance, because it was my favorite. Then I would like to see Blood Omen 2. Yeah, I love the story and I would really like to see them come up with some better graphics and especially better gameplay, better combat. I would like it to be more challenging. Then I would like to see Soul River 2, Soul River 1 and finally Legacy of Kain. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's just the way I would like it. Nothing more, nothing less. What would be your preferred platform for the next Legacy of Kain game to be released on? Well, mobile, of course. Right? All of you guys want it to be on mobile. Then you would need to pay for coins and log in every day to progress your story and so on, right? It would be awesome. Yeah? Yeah, I'm just messing with you. No, hell no. I would like to see it on a PC, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, PlayStation 4. Oh yeah. Damn it, I can only pick 3. Well, I would have to say PC, Nintendo Switch since I own a Switch, and let's go with PlayStation 5. I have no idea. How familiar are you with the story from the original Legacy of Kain games? I will have to say very, 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 very familiar. Sure, there are people who know a lot more than I do, but I do know a lot of the story, which is exactly why I'm such a huge fan. Even after all these years, I still remember most of it. If the next Legacy of Kain game is a sequel to the original series, would you like the next game to include a story recap? Now, this is kind of a weird question for me, because I don't believe it would be that much effort to put in a recap. So yeah, why not? Some people probably don't remember. Some people maybe don't want to play the previous titles. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, sure, why not? The future of the Legacy of Kain series. What type of game would you prefer? Oh, this is the question of all questions. Would you like the next Legacy of Kain game to be single player, multiplayer co-op, or PvP? Well, I mean, Nosgoth 2, right? We all want Nosgoth 2. Hell no. Hell no. If it's not a single player game, it's not a Legacy of Kain game. I think most of you would agree with that assessment. What genres would you most like the next Legacy of Kain game to be? Another tricky question. Well, it is an action game. I could do with it being an action RPG maybe. I do like progressing a character. But no custom character creators, please. I want to play as Kain or Raziel, if we're talking sequels. Well, one of those two would be kind of difficult, but who knows what the story holds. So yeah, I would have to say maybe an ARPG, action adventure, beat 'em up. No, that would be funny. Metroidvania, no, we have Castlevania for that. Legacy of Kain needs to stay original. MMO, hell no. Open world, I would like it to be open world if the story can facilitate that. If there is an actual reason to build an entire world of Nosgoth and place it in an open world, definitely. And we could mix it in with, like I said, when it came to gameplay, stealth mechanics and so on. So if Kain can transform into a swarm of bats, it would be kind of awesome if you could just fly around above the heads of unsuspecting enemies or citizens or what have you. So it could be kind of cool. And let's say stealth shooter. Oh yeah, we transformed the Soul Reaver into the Doom shotgun. Yeah, that's the way to go. Definitely. So no. What else could we put? Strategy? No. Visual novel. Well, maybe as an addition or some sort of short prequel, but definitely not here. Let's go with action, maybe? Honestly, I don't know. Let's go with action. What genres would you most dislike the next Legacy of Kain game to be? I don't want it to be a competitive multiplayer game, not an MMO, not a MOBA. I also don't want it to be a shooter. I don't even know how that would work. Or a turn-based RPG. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. And now we come to yet another tricky question. As a point of reference, As a point of reference, what modern game most resembles the type of gameplay you would expect from a new Legacy of Kain game? So now, guys, you're probably gonna wanna kill me here, but please, wait, hold up. Let me try and explain my reasoning. So I picked Devil May Cry 5 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now you're probably even more pissed off. So, I gave my reasoning here. Basically, it was difficult for me to provide a response here since I don't really want a new Legacy of Kain game to be like any other game. I want it to be like a Legacy of Kain game. But since the question is the way it is, I put Devil May Cry 5 because I think that Devil May Cry 5, 4, 3, what have you, they all have a very similar playstyle. It's not the same, but it is close enough. And also, well, something similar to a Devil Trigger is not something I would be opposed to be honest. I'm fine without it, but I wouldn't hate it. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Why Assassin's Creed Odyssey? Well, first of all, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, but that's not the main point here. The main point here is that in Odyssey you have powers, you have supernatural abilities, and this is a vampire game. Kain has powers, Raziel has powers. And when it comes to that, if they made it like an open world kind of thing, then I think it would be cool if there were like Sarafan strongholds or Hilden strongholds, I don't know, or both, in an open world. And you could go in stealthily into their strongholds and dispose of your enemies in a quiet fashion using different abilities and skills. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the first game that comes to mind when it comes to using abilities to kill enemies. So yeah, some kind of a mix of those two I think would be decent. As a point of reference, what media franchise most resembles the tone you would expect from a new Legacy of Kain game? Okay, I have given this a lot of thought, and I have no other answer than Legacy of Kain. Because Legacy of Kain is an original series. There's nothing that's better for it. I don't really need Legacy of Kain to copy some other franchise. I need Legacy of Kain to be what it was. A really cool game that immerses you into its world through storytelling, visual storytelling, through voice acting, through great writing. That's what I need from Legacy of Kain. I needed to continue that trend and possibly improve upon the combat. That's it. Therefore, this is my response. This is not a joke. I don't need Legacy of Kain to be similar to any other game. I need Legacy of Kain to be similar to what it was in the past, just upgraded to modern standards. So like I said, modern mechanics and better graphics. For me, that's all I require. I need it to be original. Yeah, let's put that in too. Modern standards with original story. Moving on. So please share any additional feedback for Crystal Dynamics regarding Legacy of Kain. And this was my feedback. Please don't put in any microtransactions or always online requirements. Why did I put this in? Well, they were under Square Enix for a long time, and as we all know, some of the games published by Square Enix do have that requirement, like Hitman. And I really hate that. I really hate it. There's just no need. I mean, guys, I know that piracy is a thing. I know it's a problem. And I will eventually make a video talking about the points pro and against piracy. But for now, I just want to say, as a gamer, if your product is good, I will buy it. No question about it. I will buy it. The ones that won't, they will never buy it. That's at least my opinion, but it's a difficult subject. So that's all I want to say about that now. I go on saying, just stay true to the originals no matter if you do a remake or a sequel. I hope you do remakes and sequels in the future with more interesting stories and the same voice cast. Simon Templeman and Michael Bell are irreplaceable. And this is very true for me. Simon Templeman gave Kain life. The way his inflections when he makes his speeches and when he argues with other characters, they just imprinted on me so hard. Nobody could do Kain better than Simon Templeman. Michael Bell as Raziel, just another perfect choice. It would be such a shame if we got a good game with a good story, but if those two are not involved, we would definitely feel something missing, I believe. Sound off in the comments if you guys agree or disagree. But to me, these two are a must-have. I mean, people have gone off the rails for lesser roles, like in Hitman, when they replaced the original voice actor for... I don't even remember the name of the game. It was before the new trilogy. They replaced the voice actor, and the outrage was so big that before the game released, they called the original voice actor and had him redo all the lines for the game. So yeah, I kind of feel it's a very, very important point that these two be involved with the Legacy of Kain games once again. And finally, maybe contact you for further feedback regarding the Legacy of Kain franchise. Oh yes, please. Oh, please do. Contact the fans as much as you want. We want a great Legacy of Kain game, right guys? Okay, so now we're at the end of the survey. All I would need to do is fill out the email and click submit. But since I've already filled out the survey, I won't be doing that. And I just want to say thank you guys if you were following along with me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am really hyped up for whatever future holds for the Legacy of Kain franchise, because whatever they do, I'm pretty sure that they will not do a multiplayer game of any kind, because I think they learned their lesson with Nosgoth. We need Kain back, we need Raziel, we need at least one of those two, and we need Crystal Dynamics to stay true to the original video games. I think I'm safe when I say these things, because I think we might disagree as gamers about the finer points of what we want the Legacy of Kain game to be, but I think that all of us can agree that what made Legacy of Kain games great was an excellent single player campaign with an excellent story, excellent writing, excellent storytelling. I think I already said that, but never mind. And at least a decent combat. So I think if they could just stick to that and develop the story further, if they do a sequel, or do a complete remake, but keep every part of the story as it was, maybe they include some of the things that were cut for budgetary reasons or whatever other reasons, that would also be nice. And yeah, I think that they would have a slam dunk when it comes to a good or a great single player experience. And we know that single player games are very much alive, as proven by God of War, for example, or Elden Ring. Well, Elden Ring does have a multiplayer component in it, but it's not vital to the game. So yeah, I think that's about all I have to say right now. Sorry for the long video, I tried to be as brief as possible, but I really have a lot of things I want to say, and I will be doing reviews of all the other Legacy of Kain games at some point. I'm kind of swamped at work right now, so it's not easy to put out videos fast enough, but be sure that those videos are on the way, and I hope to keep the discussion going. And if I find any other news when it comes to Legacy of Kain, I will keep you updated. So that's it for me, guys. Tell me if you had any differences from my answers, why you thought differently or felt differently. Let's keep the discussion going. Let's see what we get in the end. Until the next one, guys, I wish you all the best, and well, see you in the next one. Bye!